The Galactic Council had seen many strange things in its 3,000-year history, but humanity's application to join the peacekeeping forces had sparked debates that lasted months. Humans were soft, weak, and lacked the natural weapons that made species like the Krell or the Vaxoni so effective. They had no claws, no venomous fangs, no armored hides. They were, in the words of Council member Thrace, prey pretending to be predators. Captain Mira stood before the Council chamber's viewing screen, watching the debate unfold in real time. Her dark eyes held quiet amusement as the holographic representatives argued about whether her species deserved a seat among the galaxy's protectors. She'd heard it all before during her academy days, during field training, and now during her final evaluation. They lack the intimidation factor, growled Ambassador Krelzar, his reptilian face filling the screen. How can they command respect from the galaxy's most dangerous species? Mira smiled slightly. Respect, she'd learned, wasn't about size or teeth. It was about something far more complicated. The test was simple in concept, impossible in execution. Each candidate had to survive 72 hours on Vex Prime, a nature preserve housing some of the galaxy's most dangerous juvenile predators. Not kill them, survive with them, earn their respect, prove that humanity could coexist with beings designed by evolution to hunt and kill. Most species sent their largest, most intimidating warriors. The Krell sent soldiers who could bench press small vehicles. The Vaxoni sent telepaths who could dominate lesser minds. Humanity sent Captain Mira, who stood 5'6" and whose most intimidating feature was probably her wry smile. The transport dropped her at the edge of the preserve just after dawn. The air was thick with humidity, and the sounds of the jungle were a symphony of clicks, roars, and chittering that would have sent most prey species running. Mira adjusted her belt, checked her supply pack, and walked calmly into the undergrowth. The observers in orbit watched through surveillance drones, their cameras capturing every moment. The betting pools across the galaxy heavily favored her, getting mauled within the first 6 hours. She made it 3 hours before her first encounter. The Draven emerged from the shadows, like liquid darkness given form. It was a juvenile, barely the size of a large dog, but its obsidian scales gleamed with razor edges, and its eyes, 6 of them arranged in a crown around its skull, glowed with predatory intelligence. The species was notorious. Adult Dravens were apex predators on 12 different worlds, nearly impossible to kill and absolutely impossible to tame. This one tilted its head, studying her with the curiosity of youth. Its tail, tipped with a crystalline barb that could punch through starship hull plating, swished back and forth. Mira sat down. The observers watching from orbit leaned forward in their seats. Council members stopped their debates. The betting pools froze. She didn't reach for her weapon, didn't activate her shield. She simply sat, cross-legged in the dirt, and pulled out her canteen. She took a drink, then set it down between them. The Draven crept closer. Its scales made soft clicking sounds as it moved, a sound that usually preceded violent death. It sniffed the canteen, then looked at her with those 6 intelligent eyes. Mira smiled. Go ahead. It's just water. The creature couldn't understand her words, but it understood her tone. Calm, unafraid. Not prey fleeing, not predator challenging, something else entirely. It lapped at the water, never taking its eyes off her. Over the next 3 days, a strange relationship developed. The Draven, she'd started calling it Draven since no one had bothered to name the preserve residents, began following her through the jungle. Not hunting her, following her like a curious child. She shared her rations. It brought her a dead tree crawler, dropping the creature at her feet with obvious pride. She examined it, praised the kill, and gently explained she couldn't eat raw meat. It watched, fascinated, as she built a fire and cooked her own food. By the second day, it was sleeping near her camp, close enough that she could hear its breathing. By the third day, it was playing. That's when things got interesting. Mira woke on the final morning to find her badge missing. The golden shield that marked her as a peacekeeping candidate had been clipped to her belt when she fell asleep. Now it was gone. She sat up, scanning the campsite, and found Draven sitting 10 feet away, looking entirely too pleased with itself. Its tail swished innocently. All right, Mira said, standing and brushing dirt from her uniform. Where is it? 6 eyes blinked at her in perfect synchronization. the universal expression of feline innocence. She approached slowly. Draven didn't move, but its scales rippled with what might have been amusement. She checked around the campsite, under leaves, behind rocks. Nothing. The creature watched her search with obvious entertainment. Mira stopped, hands on her hips, and stared at it. Then she started laughing. Not the polite laugh of diplomatic functions, but genuine warm laughter that echoed through the jungle, the kind of laugh that said she understood the game being played. "You little thief," she said, still chuckling. "You've been watching me all this time, and now you want to play?" She knelt in front of it, meeting its gaze without fear. "All right, friend. But I need that back. It's kind of important." Draven tilted its head. Then slowly, deliberately, it lifted one massive paw. There, pressed into the soft earth, was her badge. Perfectly placed, perfectly hidden, exactly where she'd never think to look. Mira retrieved it, wiped off the dirt, and clipped it back to her belt. She looked at Draven, and the creature looked back at her with those 6 knowing eyes. She winked. The effect was instantaneous. Draven's scales rippled in waves of color she'd never seen before. Not threat displays, but something else. Joy, maybe? Recognition. The creature suddenly bounded forward, butting its massive head against her chest in what could only be described as affection. In orbit, the observers sat in stunned silence. Council member Thrace's mouth hung open. "Did that human just bond with a juvenile Draven?" Someone whispered. "Impossible," Krelzar muttered. "They're untamable." "Everyone knows she didn't tame it," another voice interrupted. Admiral Kess, a human representative, spoke quietly. "She befriended it." There's a difference. When the extraction team arrived 72 hours later, they found Captain Mira sitting by her campfire, Draven's head resting in her lap as she scratched behind its auditory ridges. The creature was purring, a sound no one had ever recorded from the species before. She looked up at the team with that same calm smile. "Ready when you are." "Captain," the team leader said carefully. "The creature?" "We'll be fine," Mira finished. "Won't you, friend?" Draven made a sound like grinding stone and contentment mixed together. Its tail swished lazily. As Mira stood to leave, the creature followed her to the extraction point. It watched as she boarded the shuttle, 6 eyes tracking her every movement. Just before the door closed, she waved. Draven raised one paw in something that might have been a wave back. The Galactic Council's vote was unanimous. Humanity was accepted into the peacekeeping forces with full honors. When asked what made the difference, Council member Thrace gave an answer that would be quoted for generations. "We sent predators to dominate. They sent a human to understand. Perhaps we've been thinking about strength wrong all along." Captain Mira, watching the announcement from her quarters, smiled and touched the badge on her chest, now with a small scratch mark from a crystalline claw, which she'd decided to keep as a reminder. Somewhere on Vex Prime, a juvenile Draven curled up in its den, a salvaged human canteen clutched between its paws, and dreamed of the strange 2-legged creature who'd taught it that friendship could exist between predator and prey, or perhaps that humans were never prey at all. They were simply something the galaxy hadn't understood yet.